The autumn rain of Seattle was quietly beating against the large windows of the library. Rachel Miller announced the closing time throughout the building while seeing off the last patrons. For her, who worked as a librarian in the children's section of the King County Central Library, this quiet time was the most peaceful moment of her day. Walking between the bookshelves, Rachel unconsciously touched her neck. There, a small heart-shaped pendant glittered. The necklace had a simple design with a small diamond set in a platinum base, and it was a memento of her late husband James. When combined with the necklace of the same design that James had worn, the two hearts became one. It was a pear necklace. 8 months ago, James had suddenly passed away from multiple organ failure. He had built the IT company, Tech Solutions Pacific, from scratch and was a person who had attracted attention as a young business leader in Seattle. James's sudden death, loved by many for his gentle smile and calm personality, had given a great shock to the people around him. The doctors were also puzzled by the unexplained rapid deterioration of his health and could only make a diagnosis of complications from viral infection. Rachel and James's married life had been short but filled with deep love. They had met through their shared hobby of reading and were a couple who enjoyed quiet, intellectual conversations. James would often visit Rachel's workplace, the library, between his busy work schedule, and it had become their daily routine to discuss new books together. The Miller family structure was complex. James's father, William, was known as the founder of Miller Properties, a large company that handled real estate development throughout the Seattle area. The fortune he had built was said to amount to billions of dollars, but symptoms of dementia had begun to appear 3 years ago, and currently his judgment ability had significantly declined. 3 years ago, William had married Susan. Susan was a beautiful woman who had graced magazine covers as a former fashion model. Her sophisticated appearance and sociable personality seemed to give new vitality to the elderly William. The pear necklace that Rachel wore was actually a gift from Susan. Last year, when they celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary, Susan had said, a special gift to symbolize family bonds, and presented the pear necklaces to Rachel and James. According to Susan, it was a one-of-a-kind piece specially made by a special jeweler, something befitting a couple pledging eternal love. After James's death, Rachel had been unable to take off this necklace. It was her last connection to her husband and the only way she could feel his love. Susan had also gently said, please treasure it for James's sake too. Currently, William's condition was worsening day by day. Due to the progression of dementia, he sometimes couldn't recognize family members' faces. However, Susan was devotedly caring for him and was praised by doctors and nurses. William is so fortunate to have met such a loving wife, the attending physician would often say. Rachel was also actively cooperating in caring for her father-in-law. She would always visit the Miller mansion on weekends and take care of William together with Susan. The relationship between the three appeared harmonious on the surface and looked like an ideal family from the outside. However, Rachel had recently begun to feel changes in her own physical condition. Chronic headaches and hand tremors continued, and she was sometimes attacked by dizziness. She told herself it was due to stress, but the symptoms were strikingly similar to what James had complained of before he died. Her colleagues at the library had also noticed her changes and expressed concern. As the sound of rain gradually intensified, Rachel turned off the library lights and quietly closed the door. From the end of October, Rachel's poor health gradually became more serious. The headaches when she woke up in the morning became more severe than before, and the tremor in her hands when drinking coffee became noticeable. During work at the library, she was suddenly attacked by dizziness and had to lean against the bookshelves many times. Her colleague Margaret spoke to her with concern. "Rachel, you look pale. Are you getting enough rest?" "I'm fine, Margaret. It's probably just the change of seasons," Rachel answered with a smile, but inwardly her anxiety was growing. That night, while preparing dinner at her apartment, Rachel suddenly remembered James's last few months. He too had complained of similar symptoms. My head hurts and I can't concentrate, my hands shake and it's hard to sign documents, he had said many times. At the time, she thought it was work stress, but looking back now, it was surprisingly similar to her current symptoms. Rachel gazed at the anniversary photo stuck on the refrigerator. It was a photo of when she and James had received the pair necklaces from Susan. Susan had said, "As long as you wear these, your love will be eternal," and had personally put the necklaces around their necks. Susan's smile at that time was truly warm and conveyed familial affection. On the weekend, Rachel visited the Miller mansion as usual. The mansion in Bellevue's upscale residential area was a dignified building surrounded by gardens. Susan greeted her at the entrance. She was still beautiful, maintaining a youthfulness that didn't seem like 52 years old. "Rachel, welcome. Father's condition isn't very good," deep worry colored Susan's expression. When Rachel met William in the living room, she was shocked by his change. He was clearly more weakened than when she had seen him just a week ago. While he used to sit with his back straight, now he was sunk deep into his wheelchair, staring out the window with vacant eyes. "It's Rachel. Do you understand?" Susan called gently, but William's reaction was slow. "Huh? Who are you again?" William looked at Rachel, but the light of recognition never returned. Susan sighed. "He suddenly got worse since last night. The doctor says he may have entered the final stage." For the next few hours, Rachel cared for William together with Susan. Susan's devotion was truly moving. She managed his medication times precisely and attended to everything from meal care to personal care, as if she were his real daughter. "Susan, you really are a wonderful wife," Rachel said from her heart. "We're family." "It's natural," Susan answered with a smile. "The sadness of losing James is shared by all of us. Father was also very sad about James's death, so that may have worsened his dementia." In the evening, when Rachel was preparing to leave, the entrance chime rang. The visitor was Robert Harris, the family's legal advisor. He was a gentlemanly man who had a long-standing relationship with the Miller family. "Good evening, Mr. Harris. What brings you here?" Susan greeted him. "Actually, there's something urgent I need to discuss." "About William's will," Mr. Harris's expression was serious. The three faced each other in the living room. Mr. Harris began speaking in a heavy tone. "Actually, I received a request from William to change his will. It was 3 days ago." Rachel was surprised. "But given Father's condition, I don't think he has legal decision-making capacity." "That's the problem," Mr. Harris frowned. That day he was unusually lucid and showed clear intention. "The new will leaves all assets to Susan." Susan showed a surprised expression. "No, I'm not asking for anything. Rachel should inherit James's share too." In the previous will, a considerable inheritance was planned for Rachel. However, in the new will, Susan inherits all assets, and subsequent disposal is left to her judgment. Rachel was confused. She didn't have strong attachment to William's assets, but the sudden change felt strange. Did Father really say such a thing? Yes. He clearly said, "Susan is the most trustworthy family member. I want to entrust everything to her." That night, Rachel returned home with complex feelings. Seeing Susan's devoted care, she could understand William making such a judgment. However, something bothered her. The following week, Rachel's condition worsened further. Getting up in the morning became painful, and nausea during work at the library increased. Finally, persuaded by her colleagues, she decided to undergo medical examination at the hospital. "It's probably just stress and fatigue," Rachel told herself. "I just haven't recovered from James's death." However, inwardly, fear was sprouting. James had also started with similar symptoms and quickly became seriously ill. The anxiety that she might be following the same path began to dominate her mind. Looking at her face in the mirror, her cheeks were hollow and there were deep circles under her eyes. Only the pear necklace glittering at her neck reminded her of the once happy days. "James, what's happening to me?" Rachel whispered softly. On a cold November morning, Rachel was waiting for her examination in the waiting room of Seattle General Hospital. As her poor health continued, she had finally decided to undergo a comprehensive medical checkup at her colleague's strong recommendation. While sitting in the waiting room chair, she unconsciously touched the pear necklace at her neck. This necklace, filled with memories of James, was her only support that could ease her anxious feelings. "Rachel Miller," a nurse's voice echoed. When she entered the examination room, a middle-aged Indian male doctor greeted her with a warm smile. His name tag read Dr. Rajesh Patel. "What symptoms brought you here today?" Rachel explained her symptoms in detail. Chronic headaches, hand tremors, dizziness, nausea, and recently, decreased concentration had been added. Dr. Patel listened while taking careful notes. "When did these symptoms begin?" "About 2 months ago, I suppose. At first it was just mild headaches, but they gradually got worse." "Are there any stress factors? Family illness or work problems?" Rachel hesitated a little before answering. "I lost my husband 8 months ago. Also, my father-in-law has dementia, and I help with his care." Dr. Patel showed a sympathetic expression. "That must have been very difficult. What was your husband's cause of death?" "Multiple organ failure." "Unexplained rapid deterioration." Rachel's voice became small. "I see. Actually, listening to your symptoms, there's something that concerns me a little. Let's do some detailed tests." After the basic examination, Dr. Patel began closely observing around Rachel's neck. "There's a slight rash around your neck. Have you started using any new accessories or cosmetics?" "No, nothing particularly different." Rachel put her hand to her neck. "That necklace, how long have you been wearing it?" Dr. Patel asked while taking out a magnifying glass. "This is a pear necklace with my late husband. I've been wearing it almost daily for over a year." Dr. Patel observed the necklace closely with the magnifying glass. His expression gradually became grim. He discovered slight discoloration and abnormal texture on the surface of what appeared to be platinum. "Ms. Miller, where did you get that necklace?" Tension was mixed in the doctor's voice. "It was a gift from my late husband," Rachel answered with a smile. "To be precise, it was given to us by my mother-in-law as a 5th anniversary gift. It was a matching pear necklace for my husband and me." Dr. Patel stood up and brought several instruments from the back of the examination room. "I'm sorry, but could you please remove that necklace? I'd like to test the metal." "Test? Why?" Rachel showed a puzzled expression. "Actually, listening to your story, I suspect the possibility of metal poisoning. Please let me examine the metal composition of this necklace." Dr. Patel put on gloves and carefully collected a sample from the necklace. When he put it in a portable metal analysis device, the results came out immediately. The doctor's face turned pale. The doctor checked the device screen multiple times. "Unbelievable. Is there a problem?" Rachel's voice was trembling. "Ms. Miller, this necklace contains illegal concentrations of lead and mercury. Furthermore, other toxic heavy metals have been detected. This is a level of toxic substances prohibited from being sold as jewelry." Rachel was speechless. "But I heard this was a high-end item made by a special jeweler." Dr. Patel continued with a serious expression. "Probably, toxic metals have been intentionally mixed in. Your symptoms are typical of chronic heavy metal poisoning. Headaches, hand tremors, dizziness, nausea, decreased concentration, and dermatitis around the neck." "No, that can't be." Rachel's mind was confused. "Ms. Miller, you said your husband was also wearing the same necklace." "Yes, because they were pear necklaces." Dr. Patel chose his words carefully. Your husband's cause of death was multiple organ failure, but there's a possibility of multiple organ failure caused by heavy metal poisoning. Especially if he had been wearing such high concentrations of toxic substances for a long period. The blood drained from Rachel's face. You mean James died because? At this stage it's just speculation, but the possibility is high. This necklace was clearly made with the purpose of harming the human body. The air in the examination room became heavy. Dr. Patel stood up and said in a trembling voice, "Ms. Miller, please go to the police immediately. Right now." Police? Why? This is clearly attempted murder, and regarding your husband's case, possibly murder. This necklace is a weapon. It's an intentionally created poison. Rachel clung to her chair. But my mother-in-law trying to kill us. I don't know the motive, but the physical evidence is clear. The person who gave you this necklace is likely the perpetrator. Dr. Patel urgently performed additional blood tests. The results were as expected. Rachel's blood heavy metal concentrations had reached dangerous levels. Fortunately, it's still at a recoverable stage. If we start detoxification treatment immediately, there's hope for recovery. However, there's not a moment to lose. Could James have been saved? If we had noticed earlier, tears welled up in Rachel's eyes. In your husband's case, the progression seemed fast after symptoms appeared. Perhaps he was exposed to higher concentrations of toxins, or was constitutionally sensitive. Dr. Patel also offered to contact the police. I'll contact them too, but please go directly to the police yourself and explain the detailed situation. Information about this necklace and the person who gave it is needed. But Susan doing such a thing. Rachel still couldn't believe it. Are there currently other people wearing similar necklaces? Rachel suddenly remembered. My father-in-law. William is also wearing a similar necklace. Susan gave it to him around the same time. That's serious. We need to check immediately. How has that person's recent health been? His dementia has rapidly worsened. Rachel was horrified. Could that also be? Heavy metal poisoning can also have serious effects on the brain. Sometimes it's indistinguishable from dementia symptoms. After leaving the hospital, Rachel took out her cell phone with trembling hands. She had to first call the police, then check on William's safety. The reality she had believed for 8 months had collapsed in an instant. The Seattle Police Department's Major Crimes Unit immediately began investigation upon receiving Rachel's testimony. Detective Sarah Thompson, the assigned detective, was a veteran with 20 years of experience who had solved many complex family crimes. Ms. Miller, please calm down first. We will do everything in our power to solve this case, Detective Thompson encouraged Rachel in a warm tone. We've also received contact from Dr. Patel and confirmed the necklace analysis results. Rachel explained in detail the circumstances of Susan giving the necklace with trembling hands. She told how Susan had said it was a 5th anniversary commemorative gift, specially made by a special jeweler, how she and James had joyfully accepted it, and how William was currently wearing a similar necklace. Could you please check on my father-in-law's condition immediately? He's also exposed to the same danger, Rachel pleaded. Detective Thompson immediately dispatched ambulances and patrol cars to the Miller house. We're heading to the scene too. Please come with us. We need to confirm the situation. 30 minutes later, multiple patrol cars and ambulances had arrived at the Miller mansion in Bellevue. Susan was standing at the entrance with a confused expression. What on earth is happening? Rachel, why are you here with the police? Detective Thompson stepped forward. You're Susan Miller, aren't you? I'm Detective Thompson from Seattle Police. We urgently need to confirm something about William Miller's condition. Father is resting. But why the police? Agitation was visible in Susan's voice. The paramedics rushed to William's room. He was in a semi-conscious state and clearly in critical condition. Around his neck was indeed a necklace of the same design as the one Rachel had been wearing. "Remove this necklace immediately," one of the paramedics shouted. Having received advance contact from Dr. Patel, they responded swiftly. William was rushed to the hospital, and Susan was to accompany him. However, Detective Thompson told her, "Susan, you are under serious suspicion. We need to hear your story in detail." At the hospital, William's blood test results came out. Like Rachel, dangerous levels of heavy metals were detected. Fortunately, it was still at a treatable stage, but if it had been a few days later, it would have been life-threatening. Meanwhile, police requested the forensic team to re-examine James's cause of death for reinvestigation. Since he had been cremated 8 months ago, analysis was conducted on remaining tissue samples and hair. The next day, shocking results were revealed. High concentrations of lead, mercury, and other toxic heavy metals were also detected in James's body. The cause of death was definitely multiple organ failure due to heavy metal poisoning. Detective Thompson questioned Susan again. "Susan, toxic substances have been detected in the necklace you gave. Where did you commission its manufacture?" Susan initially feigned ignorance. "That's impossible. It was specially ordered from a high-end jewelry store." "Please tell us the store name. We need to verify." Susan couldn't provide the store name. When police investigated, it was revealed that the jewelry store she claimed didn't exist. Furthermore, in investigating Susan's past, shocking facts became clear. Her previous husband had also died suddenly 3 years ago with similar symptoms. At that time too, the cause of death was ruled as unexplained multiple organ failure. Wasn't your previous husband, Robert Fisher, also wearing accessories before he died? Investigation revealed that among Fisher's belongings kept by his family, a necklace containing toxic metals was indeed found. Susan had used the same method with her third husband William. "Why did you do this?" Rachel cried out at the interrogation. Cornered, Susan finally began to tell the truth. "I haven't done anything wrong." Her eyes were cold. "I was just trying to secure my future." Susan's motive was purely financial. The assets she inherited from her previous husband Fisher were only a few $100 million, but William's assets were on a different scale. She had been targeting William's assets from the beginning, and James's existence was an obstacle. "As long as James was there, I couldn't inherit all the assets. So I needed to eliminate him first." Susan had coldly purchased toxic metals from a specialized chemical company and commissioned a trusted metal processing company to manufacture the necklaces. She had explained to the manufacturer that it was for special alloy experiments. "When I saw you both happily accepting the necklaces, I was confident the plan was proceeding perfectly." After James's death, Susan had also given William a similar necklace. The progression of dementia was accelerated by the effects of heavy metal poisoning on the brain, and the will change had been realized according to her plan. "Rachel, you were a bonus. I hadn't planned to kill you at first. But seeing you wear the necklace every day, I thought it would be convenient if you died naturally like this." Rachel was speechless with anger and sadness. The woman who had taken her beloved husband, tormented her father-in-law, and even targeted her own life was someone she had believed was showing familial love. DNA testing also detected Susan's fingerprints on the necklaces. It was evidence that she had directly handled the necklaces. "Susan Miller, you are under arrest for the murder of James Miller and attempted murder of William Miller and Rachel Miller." At the moment of arrest, Susan remained calm to the end. "I am legally his wife. I have the right to inherit William's assets." However, the law did not favor her. When spousal murder is proven, inheritance rights are revoked. Furthermore, reinvestigation into her previous husband's death was initiated, and she would face charges of serial murder. A few weeks later, Susan was indicted for first-degree murder and attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming, and her conviction was certain. The prosecution announced its intention to seek the maximum sentence, treating her as a serial killer who had attempted to poison 3 men in a calculated manner. William survived with proper treatment, and his dementia symptoms also improved. When the effects of heavy metal poisoning on his brain were removed, his consciousness returned clearly. "Rachel, I'm truly sorry," the recovered William cried. "I was deceived by that woman. To lose James and endanger you too." Rachel herself had also recovered her health through detoxification treatment. However, her beloved husband would never return. Due to Susan's cold-blooded plan, their happy married life had been stolen forever. In court, Susan showed no remorse to the end. "I only did what was necessary to survive." Her words deeply wounded the hearts of Rachel and William, who were in the gallery. The jury's verdict was unanimous guilty. Susan Miller was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. The cold-blooded serial murder case targeting William's fortune, said to be $2 billion, thus came to a close. 1 year after the incident, Rachel was reading to children in the children's section of the library. Although the same peaceful daily life had returned as before, there was a deep change in her heart. A new necklace glittered at her neck. This time it was a simple silver pendant purchased from a real jewelry store. William's recovery was surprising even to the doctors. With the elimination of heavy metals, his dementia symptoms improved dramatically, and he regained his former sharp judgment. After the incident, he rewrote his will again, officially designating Rachel as his heir. However, more importantly, a true family bond had been born between them. "Rachel, if you hadn't been there, I would have died," William said this many times. Even without blood relations, he had come to love her as his true daughter. The two established the James Miller Memorial Foundation. They decided to invest their fortune in supporting victims of domestic crimes and medical research for early detection and treatment of heavy metal poisoning. The foundation's activities embodied their wish to reduce even one person from suffering similar harm. Rachel visited William's mansion on weekends. This time not for care, but to spend time as a real family. They walked through the gardens together and shared memories of James. "That boy truly loved you," William said gently. "James was happy to marry such a wonderful woman as you." One day, Rachel gathered courage to visit Dr. Patel. She wanted to express her gratitude to the benefactor who had saved her life. "Thanks to you, doctor, we were able to learn the truth." Dr. Patel smiled. "I only did what was natural as a doctor. But I'm truly glad you recovered." He continued, "Actually, this case prompted the hospital to introduce a testing protocol for heavy metal poisoning from jewelry, to prevent similar harm." In Rachel's heart, love for James was still deeply engraved. However, strangely, feelings of hatred or revenge didn't arise. Rather than hating Susan, she wanted to cherish the beautiful memories with James. Her work at the library also took on new meaning. While reading to children, Rachel began conveying the importance of family. She taught that true family is not about blood relations or formalities, but relationships where people truly cherish each other from the heart. William also changed. He came to value human connections over wealth and actively participated in local charitable activities. "I want to help as many people as possible with my remaining time," this became his new purpose in life. Susan was serving a life sentence in prison. She had requested visits, but Rachel declined. There was no need to be involved with her anymore. From people who saw the news coverage, Rachel received many letters of encouragement. Some were from people who had similar experiences of being betrayed by family. Reading these letters, Rachel learned that she wasn't a special victim. As seasons turned, James's third memorial service arrived. Rachel and William quietly offered prayers at his grave. "James, we learned the truth. The person who made you suffer has been judged," William whispered softly. Rachel touched the gravestone and thought, "The sadness of losing a loved one never disappears. However, that love is never wasted." Her love for James nurtured a new family bond with William and led to establishing a foundation that helps many people. Rachel had experienced firsthand the terror of people pretending to be family, but at the same time learned how precious true family bonds are. Even without blood relations, relationships where people truly trust and support each other, that is true family. As the setting sun illuminated the cemetery, Rachel and William quietly headed home. They had lost much, but what they had gained was also significant. They had found true familial love and trust, and a new life purpose of helping others.